Airline disappearances have always captured the attention of the world. But what about if they reappear after 37 years?
And just like that, the 90,000-pound airplane disappeared from everyone's radar, as if it never existed. Officials immediately swooped into action.
People always find it strange when airplanes disappear. I think we've explored every part of our big planet, but there are still places where planes can vanish without anyone knowing where they went. Sometimes, when passenger flights fail to reach their destinations, it's as if the planes have disappeared without a trace. No radio signals, no debris, no survivors, not even oil slicks to hint at what happened. Today, I'm going to talk about 10 of these mysterious disappearances. Let's get started. Number 1. PanAm Flight 914. The tale of PanAm Flight 914 has captivated conspiracy theorists for decades. On July 2, 1955, a plane departed from New York City with 57 passengers and 4 crew members, bound for Florida. Initially, the flight was routine, until something extraordinary happened that altered the lives of everyone aboard. Without any communication or warning, PanAm Flight 914 vanished from radar screens, and the New York control tower lost all contact with the plane's pilot and crew. It was as though the aircraft had simply ceased to exist. Authorities scrambled to locate the plane, fearing the worst, that it had malfunctioned and crashed. Despite extensive efforts, no trace of the aircraft was discovered. No wreckage, bodies, or belongings of the passengers were found. After months of investigation, authorities concluded that the plane must have crashed into the sea, leaving no evidence. The airline compensated the families of the passengers, and the case was presumed closed. Then, 37 years later, everything changed. On May 21, 1992, air traffic controllers at Caracas Airport in Venezuela observed a strange aircraft entering the airspace that had not been detected by the airport's radar system. We could see the plane with our eyes, but it didn't appear on the radar, one air traffic controller explained. Another controller, Juan de la Corte, received a signal from the mysterious plane. "Where are we? What the hell is going on?" the pilot asked de la Corte. "We are Pan American Airways Flight 914 from New York to Miami with a crew of 4 and 57 passengers." This astonishing declaration stunned the controllers. To manage the situation, de la Corte began questioning the pilot. He asked if the pilot had experienced any difficulties as the plane was off course by 1,800 kilometers. "Are you Mayday? Are you in trouble?" de la Corte inquired, but there was no immediate response. The pilot then stated they were scheduled to land at Miami International Airport at 9:55 a.m. on July 2, 1955. He added that the scenery didn't look right. De la Corte carefully informed the pilot, "Captain, this is Caracas International Airport. The date is May 21, 1992. The pilot exclaimed, "Oh my God," and began breathing rapidly. De la Corte urged the pilot to stay calm and sent out a ground crew to meet them. As the plane prepared to land, the air traffic controllers got their first clear look at it and were amazed. The aircraft appeared outdated and rugged, unlike the modern jets they were used to seeing. In the background of their communications, the air traffic crew heard the panicked cries of the passengers. The ground crew directed the plane to land, and security guards prepared to assist the passengers, confident they could handle the situation without causing further confusion. Suddenly, the pilot screamed at them. The air traffic controllers heard him over the radio as he yelled, "No, do not come near! We are leaving now!" With that, the pilot turned the plane toward the nearest runway and took off again, leaving the airport crew stunned. When Flight 914 was airborne once more, 3 planes from the Venezuelan Air Force attempted to track it. Mysteriously, as before, the plane was not traceable by radar, and the military never located it. A few hours later, Flight 914 landed at Miami International Airport, where it had been scheduled to arrive 37 years earlier. The security and staff at Miami Airport were astounded. How did this plane arrive in such condition, and where had it been for 37 years? After disembarking, the pilot, co-pilot, crew, and passengers were interrogated by security officials for hours. There were many questions without answers. One of the eeriest aspects was that not one of the people had aged a day since leaving New York 37 years ago. Officials wondered how the plane had operated for so long. If the aircraft had time-traveled, what had been a few hours for the crew and passengers had been 37 years in our timeline. The story of Flight 914 sparked numerous conspiracy theories, with bloggers and social media users offering various explanations. Some claimed the Bermuda Triangle caused the disappearance and time travel. Others suggested it was the work of aliens. However, despite some people's hopes, it became increasingly clear that the story was just that, a story. Further investigation revealed the original source, a pulp newspaper called World Weekly News, which published 3 separate stories about the plane. Each story had inconsistencies regarding the dates and times. The final proof was the entirely fictional Juan de la Corte, who was identified with 2 different photographs in 2 of the stories. In this instance, the story of Flight 914 was truly fake news. Number 2, Santiago Airlines. Flight 513. It was September 4, 1954, when Santiago Airlines Flight 513 was scheduled to take off from West Germany, destined to arrive at Porto Alegre, Brazil, 18 hours later. It was a routine flight for this airline, which frequently had flights to and from Germany every day. There was nothing unusual about it. On board this flight were 88 passengers, all regular people, and 4 crew members, totaling 92 people. As the plane took off, everything seemed normal. However, a few hours into the flight, somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, the plane vanished without a trace. It was no longer visible on radar, and air traffic control couldn't get a signal from it. At this point, air traffic control assumed the plane had suffered some kind of malfunction and crashed into the ocean. They immediately sent out planes to search for any evidence of Flight 513 in the water. The planes flew close to the water but saw no evidence. They also sent out boats for a search party, and when they found nothing, that's when they decided to deploy a submarine to search for the missing plane. However, no remains were found, raising the question: if the plane didn't crash into the ocean, where could it be? Fast forward to October 12, 1989, when an unauthorized airplane appeared on the radar at the airbase of Porto Alegre Airport, Brazil. Air traffic controllers were confused as to why this plane was about to land at their airport. The airport was busy, so the plane circled until it was able to land. Before landing, the control tower saw the big name on the plane that read Santiago Airlines and was shocked. As the plane landed and authorities approached it, they noticed that the aircraft looked old but was in excellent and well-maintained condition. After the plane landed, the engines were still running, which authorities found confusing. However, they approached the plane and opened the doors. What they saw gave them a chilling image they would never forget. Inside the plane, they found 92 perfectly preserved skeletons of the 88 passengers and 4 crew members, all still seated with their seatbelts on. The eeriest image was in the cockpit, where they saw the pilot, Captain Miguel Victor Curry, in skeletal form, with his hands still clutching the controls. As soon as they identified the plane as Flight 513, the Brazilian government immediately investigated this strange occurrence, but refused to comment further, other than stating that the plane had landed and that it was the same one that took off from West Germany 35 years ago. Due to the lack of information, many believe that the government tried to hush up the case, or that the entire story is just a big hoax. When the story of the miraculous appearance of Flight 513 reached the Weekly World News tabloid, many people found it familiar. Since this happened a long time ago, there's no credible evidence that Flight 513 disappeared in 1954 or reappeared in 1989. The only evidence is a newspaper clipping from 1989, which isn't sufficient to confirm the story. Even if we assume it happened, it raises the question of where exactly the plane vanished for 35 years. Today, there are numerous places in the world where aircraft, ships, boats, And even people go missing without a trace. Take the Bermuda Triangle, for example. This area is known for aircraft and ships vanishing, and we still have no clue why. Number 3. Flight 727. There was a mysterious case where National Airlines Flight 727 disappeared and reappeared 10 minutes later in the 1970s. The aircraft was 10 minutes away from landing at Miami International Airport when it suddenly vanished from radar, and the control tower lost contact. They tried to reach the plane multiple times without success, assuming the plane had malfunctioned. As they were ready to send out search parties, the plane reappeared on the radar. The control tower quickly contacted the pilot and co-pilot, who were unaware of any issues. The strangest thing was that the clocks on the plane were 10 minutes behind, including the watches of the passengers and crew members. This bizarre incident left everyone puzzled, as no explanation was found. Experts speculated about possible technical malfunctions, but none could explain the time discrepancy. Some theories suggested the plane might have entered a time warp or dimensional anomaly. Despite thorough investigations, no conclusive evidence was ever discovered. Passengers and crew reported feeling a brief sense of disorientation during the incident. However, no one could recall any specific event that might have caused the disappearance. The aircraft itself showed no signs of distress or malfunction upon landing. This added to the enigma, as both the plane and its occupants appeared perfectly normal. The airline conducted numerous tests on the plane's systems but found nothing unusual. Authorities eventually closed the case, leaving the mystery unresolved. Number 4. Flight MH370. Perhaps no enigma has plagued the minds of the broadest audience as much as the mysterious disappearance of the infamous Malaysian Airlines Boeing MH370. This story is still fresh and haunting, an absurd and eerie event that seems out of place in the 21st century civilization where one would think every corner of the planet could be traced and located. Flight MH370 took off from the Malaysian capital Kuala Lumpur to Beijing on March 8, 2014. However, what happened to the 227 passengers and 14 crew members remains one of the most tragic and inexplicable disappearances to this day. The aircraft was about to enter Vietnamese airspace when suddenly the transponder was turned off and the flight turned back from its designated course, eventually vanishing from radars. For weeks after the tragedy, the entire world was consumed by the search for answers. Authorities have spent considerable time and money searching for the missing aircraft, but they've come up empty-handed each time. While Flight 370 is the most recent airplane to have disappeared, it hasn't reappeared. Number 5. Indian Air Force AN-32. On July 22, 2016, an Indian Air Force Antonov N-32 took off from Tambaram Air Force Station in Chennai with 29 people aboard, heading to Port Blair, the capital of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Approximately 45 minutes after departure, radar contact and radio communication with the plane was lost without warning. No emergency calls were made, and weather conditions were normal. The Indian Navy launched the largest search and rescue operation on water ever conducted in the country, involving 12 ships, 5 aircraft, and a submarine. Despite extensive efforts, no trace of the plane or its passengers were found, leaving their fate a mystery. This incident has puzzled aviation experts and officials alike. Families of the missing personnel continued to seek answers, hoping for closure. The disappearance drew comparisons to other unsolved plane mysteries. Search operations covered thousands of square kilometers, but yielded no results. Satellite imagery and sonar mapping were also employed in the search efforts. International assistance was sought to aid in the investigation. Various theories emerged, but none substantiated with evidence. Fast forward 7 years, and the debris of the plane was finally found in the Bay of Bengal. However, the questions remain. Why did the debris appear now, after 7 whole years, given the fact that a massive search operation was held to find it and no one ever saw a glimpse of it. The 29 people aboard were still nowhere to be found. Number 6. Aer Lingus Flight 712. Flight 712, operated by Aer Lingus between Cork, Ireland, and London Heathrow Airport, disappeared on March 24, 1968. The Vickers Viscount 803 left Cork Airport on time, but within 20 minutes, a call was made to air traffic control indicating trouble. The last known message stated 12,000 feet descending, spinning rapidly, before all contact was lost. Despite search efforts, it wasn't until the following day that bodies and wreckage were found. Theories about the cause range from a bird strike to missile impact, but none have been conclusively proven. The truth behind the incident remains unknown. This tragic event has left a lasting impact on the aviation community and the families of those lost. Multiple investigations were launched to uncover the cause of the crash. The possibility of a structural failure was also considered but lacked supporting evidence. Number 7. Flight 19. Flight 19, a group of 5 Grumman Avenger torpedo bombers, vanished in the Bermuda Triangle on a navigation training flight from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in 1945. Despite experienced airmen and reliable aircraft, the planes went off course and disappeared. A PBM Mariner flying boat sent to search for them also vanished, with a huge fire reported on the water's surface, possibly from the boat. The fate of the 5 Avengers remains a mystery. The mission began as a routine training exercise on December 5, 1945. Shortly after departure, Flight 19 encountered navigational difficulties and severe weather conditions. Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the flight leader, reported compass malfunctions and disorientation. Radio transmissions revealed increasing confusion among the pilots. Efforts to guide the flight back to base were unsuccessful. The search for Flight 19 became one of the largest air and sea operations of its time. Despite extensive efforts, no wreckage or survivors were ever found. Investigators speculated various causes, including equipment failure and pilot error. The Bermuda Triangle, already notorious for mysterious occurrences, became even more infamous. Number 8. EgyptAir Flight 990. On Halloween 1999, EgyptAir Flight 990, traveling from Los Angeles to Cairo via New York, crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, resulting in the deaths of all 217 people on board. The cause remains unknown, with theories ranging from mechanical failure to deliberate actions by a crew member. The last cockpit recording included the phrase, "I've made my decision now, I put my faith in God's hands," suggesting possible intent. The investigation provided no definitive answers. This tragic event stunned the aviation community and the families of the victims. The cause remains unknown, with theories ranging from mechanical failure to deliberate actions by a crew member. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, and the Egyptian Civil Aviation Authority, ECAA, led the investigation. Recovery teams retrieved the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder. Analysis of the recordings led to differing interpretations of the crash's cause. The NTSB suggested deliberate actions by the relief first officer might be responsible. The ECAA pointed to potential mechanical failure as a cause. The phrase, "I put my faith in God's hands," became a central focus of the investigation. Number 9. PanAm Flight 7. PanAm Flight 7, a round-the-world flight, vanished on November 8, 1957, during its journey from San Francisco to Honolulu. The Boeing 377 Stratocruiser lost communication, prompting a rescue mission after 9 hours of no signal. Wreckage and bodies were discovered a week later, yet the cause of the disappearance remains speculative. Theories vary, from sabotage to fire, but no conclusive evidence has been found. A week-long search yielded the discovery of wreckage and remains, yet the circumstances surrounding the crash remained elusive. Number 10. The 1956 B-47 disappearance. On March 10, 1956, a U.S. military Boeing B-47 Stratojet vanished over the Mediterranean Sea during a refueling operation. Carrying 2 capsules of nuclear material, the plane was never recovered. The possibility of the nuclear material falling into hostile hands sparked urgent diplomatic efforts to mitigate potential fallout. Despite extensive searches, no trace of the aircraft or its crew has been unearthed. This incident sent shockwaves through the military and international communities, highlighting the grave consequences of a lost nuclear payload. The B-47 Stratojet, tasked with a critical mission, encountered trouble during a routine refueling maneuver. Efforts to locate the aircraft and its precious cargo were met with frustration as search teams scoured the vast expanse of the Mediterranean. Number 11. Stardust. In 1947, British South American Airways flight CS-59, also known as Stardust, vanished while flying over the Andes Mountains. The plane was on its way from Buenos Aires to Santiago with 11 people on board. Just before disappearing, it sent out a strange Morse code message, Stendek. Despite extensive searches, only some scattered debris was found, leaving the mystery unsolved. People have speculated about the meaning of the mysterious message, with theories ranging from a distress call to a secret code name. The disappearance of Stardust captured people's imaginations, leading to rumors of sabotage and even alien involvement. It wasn't until 1998 that the crash site was located on Mount Tupungato, but many questions remain unanswered, including the whereabouts of the cargo and black box recorders. Stardust's story continues to. Number 12. TWA Flight 800. This tragic event occurred on July 17, 1996, when the flight exploded shortly after taking off from JFK Airport in New York, bound for Paris. All 230 people on board lost their lives, while investigators determined that the explosion was caused by a spark igniting the center fuel tank. Some people believe that a missile brought down the aircraft. Eyewitnesses reported seeing streaks of light moving toward the plane just before it exploded, fueling conspiracy theories about what really happened. People had lots of ideas about what happened, like maybe there was a mistake during a Navy training or a terrorist attack, but even after they checked everything, they couldn't prove any of those theories. Some folks think maybe there was a plan to hide what really caused the crash, but the report from the NTSB is still causing arguments. Nobody's sure exactly what made the plane blow up. And because of all this doubt and those stories that won't go away, people keep talking about the crash, showing how hard it can be to get closure after something like this. Number 13. British South American Airways Star Tiger. This plane took off on January 30th, 1948 from the Azores Islands to finish its trip from London to Bermuda. Before it left, they knew there were problems with the heater and compass, but they went ahead anyway. They even followed another plane that was watching for bad weather. To stay warm, they flew really low, just 2,000 feet up, but that meant they were burning fuel super fast. And sadly, they never made it to Bermuda. When the plane flying ahead of the Star Tiger landed safely, but the Star Tiger didn't show up, people on the ground started getting really worried. They searched everywhere, but they never found any sign of the 25 passengers and 6 crew members. Investigators called it one of the toughest mysteries they'd ever faced. Recent studies think the plane's design might have been a problem, along with strong winds that could have blown it into the sea, and the fact that it was flying so low. But they haven't found anything related to the Star Tiger, not even a life jacket or a single broken piece of glass. Number 14. British South American Airways Star Ariel. Just about a year after Star Tiger disappeared, another British South American Airways flight headed from Bermuda to Jamaica on January 17, 1949, vanished without a trace. An hour after takeoff, Star Ariel checked its position as usual, but then just seemed to disappear at 18,000 feet. Because of suspected communication problems, it took 7.5 hours before a search party was sent out, possibly allowing any wreckage to sink deep into the ocean. Investigators quickly ruled out fuel issues, pilot mistakes, and bad weather. This left them guessing that something external must have caused the disappearance. This sparked various theories, but they were mostly just guesses from the public. Nowadays, experts think whatever happened must have been sudden and explosive, possibly due to problems with the plane's design and some unusual conditions. Despite all the speculation, no wreckage has ever been found, and all 20 passengers were sadly declared missing and presumed deceased. Number 15. Ghost plane. The story of Helios Airways Flight 522 is one of the most tragic in aviation history. It happened on August 14, 2005, when a Boeing 737 was flying from Cyprus to Greece. A problem with the plane's pressurization system caused everyone on board, all 121 passengers and crew, to lose consciousness and eventually die. The plane continued flying on autopilot like a ghost plane until it ran out of fuel and crashed into hills near Athens. It all started with a small mistake. The pressurization system was left in manual mode during maintenance the night before. As the plane climbed, the air inside became too thin, making it hard for people to breathe. Passengers and flight attendants passed out, and the pilots became confused and unaware of the problem. Air traffic controllers tried to reach the plane, but no one responded. Fighter jets were sent to check on it, but they found a chilling scene. Everyone in the cockpit was unconscious. With fuel running out, the plane crashed at high speed. This tragic event showed how even small problems can lead to a disaster in aviation, leaving everyone on board helpless. Number 16. Air India Flight 182. The tragedy of Air India Flight 182 in 1985 stands as one of the deadliest terrorist attacks before 9/11s. Sikh extremists planted a bomb in the forward cargo hold of the Boeing 747, which exploded while the plane was flying from Montreal to London, causing it to disintegrate mid-air off the coast of Ireland. All 329 passengers and crew were killed. Despite extensive investigations, the masterminds were never brought to justice. Many believe a mix of intelligence failures and jurisdictional issues allowed the terrorists to carry out their plan without being caught. The bombing highlighted severe security lapses and strained relations between India and Canada. It took Canadian authorities 20 years to convict any perpetrators. Investigative commissions pointed to major failures in intelligence sharing and airport security. And that was all for today. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can keep enjoying our latest videos. See you in the next one. Goodbye.